The way I understand it, it's got good ideology. I do worry about the nature of.
Hold it up a little closer.
I do worry about the nature of humans. Who's going to oversee a lot of this and make sure everyone's remaining honest? I'm not sure if it's going to be done electronically when like in the fourth week, the profits of that festival are turned into profits and redistributed through the community. It's who's in charge of that. Like I don't know, Treasury Department. Would people be penalized for if they were caught? It does have some good ideologies, but I do worry about a chain of accountability and just the nature of humans. If you get 10,000 people, you might have 50 of them that are going to be not following all the rules. And who's going to make them, and who's going to decide who's enforcing that. So it does seem like it could be corrupted, which the bigger it would get, I would imagine it would absolutely be corrupted at some point. But it does have good ideologies, and way the model makes it able to adapt, and you can make arms of this community be whatever you'd like, really, or whatever you're needed out of necessity. I think
Yeah, well, thanks for your feedback, man. I mean, I will just say, responding exactly to what you were saying, I mean, I did kind of, I know it's a lot of information, but I did kind of lay it out so as to not be corrupted. Like, it was the axioms, and that's why I was pushing in this flyer here about mechanism, because it's like, what you're saying is like, well, what about this, what about that? It's like, but mechanism is one thing, and mechanism says, you've got one person, you're giving $50, you got nothing. You got 100, you've got a built-in buying power, which.
you're pulling your money together.
But how is that different? That's just a functioning business. That's just market power. That's just a functioning business. So how do we get to the power of shared purpose and the power of diversity? Get to the project, going through the axioms right here. That's how we get there.
Where's that money stored?
And then the participants here. That's the power of diversity. Some participants, they want to work. Some people just want the delivery deals. Some people like the compostable stuff. Some people just want to promote their own project. Some people want to start a treasury department because they're worried about somebody stealing somehow. So, whatever your interest is in the project, that's what makes it different from a functional business, is the power of diversity, that there are different people. Maybe a couple of them are a little criminal. Maybe we need to work on that. Now listen, maybe I do believe in people a little bit more than you, but I also believe that people need guardrails. And, the entire design of it is for that very purpose. And so, on the other side here, you got the power of shared purpose, kind of the opposite of the power of diversity, maybe not. But how are these axioms, what are these principles all stem from two central principles, essential equality and future first. The quality part we went over. Everybody buys into it for the same amount. Everybody owns the same amount of it. Now, if you ask me, here's what I would ask. Well, what do you mean by everybody owns the same amount of it? What the hell does that mean? Well, for that, you'd have to read the book. That's a little more complicated, but in short, you get a reckoning of the share of the project, either by a vote token or by money, and then, well, you get a 12 by 12 space. If you're putting on this festival every 3 weeks and you got this 12 by 12 space, no one can take that from you. You're lining up 1 through 100, 1 through 150. No one can take that from you. Okay? You come back again, a 3 week again. Come back for another project. Come back to another project. What do you want to do now? Now we need to work on this. Now we need to take this feedback loop and add something else into it. Now we need to worry about this. This woman was stealing because she left her in charge of this. Now we got this. But overall, the transparency of it is going to give you this. Well, the transparency is your shield here to what you're saying about how is it going to not be corrupted.
Census Department making sure the data is being recorded. You gotta have a Treasury Department making sure.
I don't know about it. I think you're thinking about a United States government. This is just a project.
Human nature, corruption, it will happen.
Well, but if you post the finances publicly and anyone can audit it, how can you? Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're so concerned about that, where this money is being, then you could audit it, and that's the power of transparency. Is that if you're concerned about it, you can audit it. If you're not concerned, then just it looks about right,
Even when an auditor comes and audits a business, and in this case it'd be somebody's project, their department, who's to say that the data they're reporting to the auditor is accurate, Yeah, there's...
I think I will give you one of my other flyers about, I think you're right about the data. This is one about essential data, and is that we have, excuse me, that's why we have two sites, because we have two layers of data. So I'm going to give you you're going to get paper copies, you're going to have the site, and so that's what the essential data is about, is that, what's the most important piece of data for this?
For the project?
Yeah, for this whole thing.
Gosh.
Well, I would say the most important piece is the participant sequence of who bought into it, because that's how you line up at the festivals. And so, there's a redundancy built into where, no one could possibly steal your, you know what I mean? Like, if you're, 10,000. So if you're a participant 55, if you renew it every time, no one's going to, if you build it up to that point, that's a whole nother, that's at the point where it's what you're talking about. Tyler just asked, what about when you get to 10,000? It would become a bigger project at that point. It would be like a little government. You're right at that point. At the point where it's that big, it would become like a little government, but also look at the buying power you have. Well, I would suggest that 10,000 is the ideal number, Well, because it's big enough to where you could have real buying power, and if everyone said everybody needs to do $30, you come up with a hell of a lot of money really quick, but it's not big enough to where someone could take over it. Like, for instance, someone like Elon Musk, he can't take over it because everyone buys into it for $50. Well, this is what he says, and
But if you're in the jelly department and I'm over here in the accounting department, it's like one has more power and influence than the other.
I forgot where I was going with that, but
Yeah, it's got some parts to it.
oh, well, what I was saying with the power of the powerless was just that this idea that everyone's paying the same amount and it's a small amount and it's all normal working people, that actually that's the power of the powerless, because a wealthy or whatever interest cannot come in and say, okay, this project now is about my own thing. That's kind of like what a virus does, is it takes over a cell and says, okay, now we're doing this thing. But you can't do that because, well, but how? The participant list is a public thing, It's